Hello, everybody. Welcome. My name is Geo Derice of First Book Done, and I'm super excited to have a special guest with me, Dr. Carl Stokes Jr. Let me just quickly read his bio for you guys. Dr. Carl Stokes is an award-winning social worker, educator, and speaker living in the scenic Buffalo, New York with his family. He works as a college instructor and recently received his doctorate in education. His dissertation focuses on Black males and their perseverance in community colleges. Carl is passionate about working to uplift the Black community. He especially loves mentoring young Black fathers and helping them see their full potential. He also enjoys teaching parenting classes for a small nonprofit organization. Carl, thank you so much for joining me, first and foremost. Thank you so much for joining me, man.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it, man.
Listen, I've had the chance and the honor of being able to go ahead and read your book. And for those of you who do not know, he's written an amazing book called Reclaim Your Visibility. I have it right here, Reclaim Your Visibility, an amazing, amazing book. And I just want to jump right into it, man, and just ask you, why did you actually decide to write this?
Well, I decided to write the book, man, because, fatherhood has been such a big part of my life in terms of a rough relationship with my dad. And then me ended up, having a rough relationship with my first child. You know what I mean? I've spent a lot of years kind of struggling with, not having answers to things and not fully understanding why certain things played out the way they did. And also getting into my head the fact that I had a rough relationship with my dad, and then he had one with his dad, and then I don't even know after that. You know what I'm saying? Because because it was so damaged, in that area that I have no information on any other generations past that. So, when I wrote the book, is basically I struggled a lot, right? Dealing with my situation and dealing with myself and the dark time that I went through from not having the kind of father that I wanted to have, and then not being the kind of father that I wanted to be. You know what I mean? And so the purpose of the book was to do my part, whatever part I can do, to help other Black fathers, kind of navigate those waters like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Now I know one of the questions I had for you was like trying to think about what reservations you may have had trying to write a book like this, right? So we talk about like, do Black fathers want to even read books? Like, why are you writing a book for and all these things? Like, what are some of the reservations you had to go and put together this book?
Well, exactly what you said. You got it right on the money. First of all, I wrote the book to my younger self, right? And my younger self wasn't about to read no book. So I'm already kind of damaged right from the jump. You know what I mean?
Right.
But that is actually why I decided to do an audio book, an audio version of Reclaim Your Visibility, for that purpose. So that was a reservation. Like, man, is anybody going to read this? But the real reservation I had was transparency. I was a very low key dude, but this has definitely changed the game up, because in order to say what I needed to say, the way I needed to say it, I had to establish myself as an authority and somebody who'd been through it. In order to do that, I had to self-disclose. You know what I mean? So coming out of that comfort zone of just staying on the low, I had some reservations. Even when I was writing it, and some of the things I was recalling and bringing up, I'm like, man, I don't even know if I should, even say this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that was honestly, that was my biggest thing. But at the same time, if me being able to help one Black father or some children or mothers, for that matter, that's the price I got to pay. So I had to get over that. You know what I mean?
That's huge. I think that's so big when people just to think about just almost like falling on the sword in a sense to like for the greater cause.
Right.
You know, and like you said, having to put yourself out there and self-disclose is introducing you to a different version of you that was necessary so that that version of those Black fathers can actually become a reality.
Exactly. Yep. So I had to, you know, I just had to. It wasn't about me anymore. You know what I mean?
Right.
So that's just where I'm at with it. So I'm okay with it because, you know, the greater good, like you said.
Yeah, no, that's huge. So now here's the one thing that I've noticed in your book, reading it, is the idea of that every single chapter had like a hip hop reference from like a popular hip hop artist. Why did you feel the need to include that into the book?
Okay. So first of all, I was doing a book that's based on myself, and that's just who I am. You know, hip hop, old school hip hop, or whatever you want to call it. You know, and so there was a couple of things I was trying to accomplish there. One was just something different. I know a lot of times books will quote philosophers or authors or, you know, things like that. I just wanted to take a different approach to it, and something that was reflective of me and my lifestyle. Also, I was trying to point out that, you know, the power in pop culture, media and lyrics, hip hop lyrics, they can go either way. So the quotes that I put in there came from more positive hip hop stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and just to kind of point out that, you know, that stuff can influence us. You know, and I don't mean like to sound like the old guy in the room that used to have to walk barefoot to school in the wintertime, right? But the idea was that you know, there's influences out there that can be helpful to us. And I know that the hip hop I grew up on was very different than it is now. So all the stuff that I went through when I was younger, if the music now was then, I don't know where I'd be, man. I don't know. So I had to kind of pay homage to that old school stuff, man. You know, because it was a major influence for me. And you know what's crazy? When I was thinking about like the chapters in the book, certain things popped up anyway, like lyrically that I could think of. So that part was probably the easiest part of the book. You know what I mean? Just coming up with something relevant. You know.
No, that's huge, and I think the paying homage to the old school hip hop part, I feel like they're making that creative and artistic choice to include that in every chapter. Actually, is almost like a labor of love for the audience you're looking to reach out to. Like when I really read that and I see that in the beginning of the chapter, as a person, I'm not a Black father yet, but like I could imagine just thinking, man, this really is for us. Like this is like for me versus like you said, maybe a famous psychologist, not to discredit what they are saying, but again, like to have that laser focus and say, yo, this book is literally for me. That's the thing that they're actually going to need from a buy-in portion of it, so that they can go and actually download these 12 steps that you kind of laid out in the book in the first place.
Yeah.
No, so that's huge. Let me ask you this question. You have 12 steps, which I think is so amazing that it's not just something that's like a memoir where you're just telling your story, but it's so practical too. Now, you have 12 of them, so I'm about to ask you a tough question. Okay. The tough question is this.
Yeah.
You have 12.
Right.
If you could only take 3, which of the 3 are you taking?
Ooh.
I know it's a tough one.
Okay.
It's like asking you to pick your favorite kid, but I'm just telling you.
So if I had to bust down the book into a short version, you asking which 3 would stay in there?
Right.
All right. So if I had to do it that way, I would leave in step 1 to take the pledge. I would leave that in there because that's the mindset change right there. You know what I mean? So that's kind of setting up the whole idea of getting ready to embark on this mission, and the actual pledge is on there. And I think that's a critical part of the book. Yeah. Right. And even people who get the book, you know, they get a bookmark, it got the pledge on it.
I got it, man. See? I got it.
Right.
I got it.
So I would definitely leave that in there because it kind of sets the tone. After that, I would stick right with it because the next step is taking personal responsibility. Right. And so we change our mindset, and then we own, you know, whatever mistakes we have made, or whatever, you know, the decisions that we made and all that, and have to face it, right? Because I know, speaking for me personally, that was the hardest part, you know, because while it's very easy to talk about what didn't go right due to no fault of my own, I had to kind of turn that around on myself and talk about, you know, the things I did do wrong and the things that I could have done better. You know what I mean? And I think, you know, especially, you know, us as Black men, you know, we got to clean up our own house before we start demanding from other populations and other people. You know what I mean? So and this is interesting because I basically gave you those first two. And the first one, the pledge, is very short, and the taking personal responsibility is the longest part. So it kind of evens out. You know what I mean? But I think that's just a strong start that the book needs. Now asking me to pick another one. Wow. I might have to put presence over presence on there.
Why is that?
Because in that step, I laid out, you know, the difference between just being there, right? Or being there in a meaningful way where you're providing emotional support. And I think that particular part is more of the teaching part, because there's even some, you know, finance stuff in there, you know, that kind of address, you know, we don't, just because we buy stuff don't make us good dads. Like sometimes, like I know, well, I can speak for myself, a lot of the intangibles that I was missing, I just felt like it was all good because I bought stuff, right? And my logic was, yeah, shit, my dad ain't ever buy me nothing, so I'm ahead of the game. You know what I mean?
Wow.
And so I think that I don't think I could part with that. You know what I mean? I don't think I could part with that. You know, and I think, and that's not to devalue any of the other steps, but I think with those in there like that, I think that can change the trajectory of someone's thinking. You know what I mean? If they just only had those three. And I feel like if they had those three, they would want the rest of it. You know?
And again, like I said, I know it was a tough question because I was like, man, I wouldn't want to be asked that question because all of them are so relevant.
Yeah.
But what you just said about like that strong start of like that shift of the mindset, the pledge is super, super powerful, man. And I want to talk to that and just ask you, like, what was the thought behind that? Like I feel like there's a deeper root cause as to why a pledge.
Well, you know, as I stated in the book, you know, I remember growing up in school for many, many years, and the first thing we did during the day was take the pledge. You know, but that was a different kind of pledge, you know what I mean?
Right.
But it's just kind of like, you know, the Pledge of Allegiance, you know, to the flag and all that. That's before we did anything, we did that. Right. So I said, you know, I need something to kind of kick it off. And when I wrote the pledge, it was basically me forgiving myself.
Whoa, wow.
You know what I mean? So when I wrote that, I just sat there and I looked at it like, I'm writing this book now. If I had an opportunity to talk to myself 20 years ago, you know, what would the conversation be like? And I would tell the younger me, you know, accept what you've done, you got to move past it. Accept what other people may have done, you got to move past it. And that was the basis of that. You know what I mean? So That was like a healing for me before I even kicked the book off, because I actually did write that first. You know what I mean? I wrote that before any introduction. Well, I did an outline, but I knew I wanted to set it off with some sort of strong statement, but I just took it a step further and I said, you know what? I'll just do a whole pledge, because I envision, groups of men together, crowds of men together, just being brothers and just saying that, and I could hear it in my head, like groups of people saying that together. I visualized that. You know what I mean? So even when I did the audio book, I doubled it in my own voice when I read that to give it that effect. You know what I mean? Because that's just what I had in my head.
Yeah, I wanted to say, and I'm glad you brought that whole point up about like so many people doing it, all the brothers doing it together. Because when I read that in the book, and I love the way, and this is why I enjoyed this read, is that I felt like you were talking to me. And when you were talking, you said like, yo, you're not doing this by yourself. Like there are other brothers who are literally reading and doing this pledge right now with you.
Right.
And I feel like the journey of reclaim your visibility often feels like it's one that you are doing by yourself. And it is like, like you got to take ownership, but the idea of knowing other Black fathers are doing the same thing, there's a level of comfort that comes from that.
Right. Absolutely. And that's exactly what you felt. That was my intent. So I feel wonderful that you felt that. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because that's exactly what I had in mind. Just because it's a lonely road out there. You going through that stuff, man, and it's hard enough to take ownership of it and to want to move on. But if we can do it in a way where we know that other people are with us, and we could do this together and go on this journey together, it's just that being in that unison and in that sense of community. That's what we need, and that's what makes things happen. So I'm glad to hear that.
Nah, man, this is what excites me about this book, man. Let me now. I want to bring up the subtitle, and the subtitle reads: "A straightforward guide for Black fathers to improve themselves and their relationships with their children." And the reason why I wanted to go and bring this up is because there's a very clear emphasis on both. I think typically the attention is like, yo, go fix your relationship with your children. Yeah. What I like about what is in this book is it's like improve you too. And I think why that? Like, why did you decide, yo, I'm not gonna just tell you go and fix the relationship with your children, but I'm also going to talk to you too, because I want you to improve as well.
Well, a couple things there. First, if we love our children, we have to understand how important we are to them. So if you had your son or your daughter or both or whatever the situation is, and they had a favorite teddy bear and the teddy bear got damaged, you feel terrible because they love that teddy bear. Right?
Yep.
So if your kids love you more than that teddy bear, wouldn't it bode well for everybody for you to take care of yourself? Wow. Right? Sheesh. So a lot of times we think about, it's the kids, but can we really go all out for our kids if we're not taking care of ourselves? I think that's what we forget, because I need to be right. I need to be healthy. I need to be sane. I need to be in a good place so I can be a better parent. So it has to start here. You know how, you always hear, you got to love yourself before you love someone else. And it's usually in a relationship context.
Right.
Well, if I'm responsible for my children and they're depending on me and I am their role model, I need to be right. You know what I mean? So I can make the good decision, so I can be in a good place, so I can show them that, right? Because I can also be in the house with my kids and be suffering and be miserable, and that's just going to transfer down to them.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So and this goes back again to the whole, clean up your own yard first before you start doing all that other stuff. So we love our kids, but loving ourselves is loving our kids, because our kids love us.
Yeah. Let me ask you, and I don't want to give away the whole book. You guys where can they get the book, by the way? Just real quick. I know I'm gonna ask you later, but where can they get this book?
They can get the book at drcarlstokesjr.com. Yeah, the audio book is there as well, or they can just go get it at Amazon.
Yeah,
Here too.
You could go, guys, please get this. If you are listening to this right now, whether you have connections to Black fathers, whether you're a Black father yourself, like this book literally hits a nail in the head. One of the things I wanted to ask you, and I don't want to give away the whole book, but with that part about you taking care of yourself, loving yourself, is there something that you can share with the audience who is watching right now of one of those things? What does that look like for you, or what is it, like a recommendation of what that would look like on a practical level for Black fathers?
Okay, yeah, sure. So I'm a social worker by trade, right? So a lot of the force behind social work is self-care. So I'm big on self-care, right? And like you pointed out in the subtitle, improving ourselves, right? So there's a few things that I do. And, one of them is that I take time for myself, and that's actually right here. I journal, right? I journal. Okay. So, and I want to emphasize this, like, I'm not using no easy to tear up dollar store notebook. Right. I really went out and got a real nice book and a real nice pen, right? Because, it's meaningful to me. And I take time. I do mine in the morning because I'm like a morning person, and I kind of start doing that before I get going for the day. But it's a way to de-stress, and it's also a way to plan. I plan out my days, right? And put myself in a certain mindset, a positive mindset, a helping mindset. I go out looking to see how I can help people on a daily basis, right? And I write it down, and I visualize it, right? I write it down, and then I go to make it real, right? So for me, that helps me stay on the ball. You know what I mean? And everybody's different, but things like, exercising, eating right, cutting back on certain things that not good for you. Whatever, just taking walks, whatever works for anybody in particular, but
right.
If you ask me that question right now, right here, I'm going with journaling, because I can't even tell you how much that has helped me, deal with things, and it's funny because growing up, that was a pretty like girly thing, you know what I mean? Like a diary.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And it's like, like, oh, come on, man, what is wrong with this dude? But no, it's not like that. This is probably the manliest thing that I've ever done, is communicate in this book and seeing what's on these pages come to real life. You know what I mean? Writing Reclaim Your Visibility and having it released in 2020 was in this book.
Wow.
And it happened. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, and along with many other things, right? And I'll also tell you this, I, like I explained, had a very challenging relationship with my oldest daughter, right? And writing about making it right helped that come to fruition as well.
Wow.
Right? So, very recently, there was a reconnection, and that, that's the power behind, your mind, and you put your mind to something, and it's helped with a whole lot of stuff. So here I am writing a book about Black fatherhood, and I was struggling a bit because I was writing it, and I still wasn't in the best place, with one of my children, and it all worked itself out because I started to take care of myself.
That's powerful, man. That's so powerful. Sheesh. I got one last question for you before we wrap up.
Sure.
This specifically is, what is your greatest hope for this book, or that will come from this book?
Oh yeah. Oh yes, man. Listen, I want to help tons of people, man. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, I'm thinking very, very large scale here. You know what I mean? And I've been blessed. You know, people have been buying a book, and I'm getting a lot of feedback and things like that. But let me tell you, you know, I've been booked to talk to groups of young men and hitting them 25, 30, 40 at a time.
Yeah.
And oh my God, man, that, you know, I'm like, I need more. Like, I need more. I need 300. I need 3,000. I need 30,000. You know what I'm saying? Because
Yeah.
listen, I went through, now I want to just say me, but, you know, I would say my daughter and I went through a whole lot, and I need that to be for something big. You know what I mean? So since we had to go through all of that, it's like, listen, I ain't go through all that for nothing. We didn't go through all that for nothing. We got to make sure that other people don't have to go through that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so my hope, man, and my hope is to positively influence young Black men, but also, this is the thing. The book is written to Black fathers, but it's for the mothers, right? So Black fathers getting where they need to get is helping everybody. As a foundation in the family, is helping everybody. You see what I'm saying? So
yeah.
This is also parallel to the whole, you know, fix yourself before you start fixing everything else. This is like, you know, start with us as the foundation of the household, and everything else falls in place. You see what I'm saying? So, and this, we all got fathers, whether we got good relationships with them or not. Right. So even if you ain't got kids, right, this is a preemptive strike. Even if, you know, you got kids and you want to get better, even if you got kids and you want to measure up and see if you already doing what's in the book, you know what I mean? Yeah. I think it's something in there for everybody, you know. So my hope is that it gets around, you know.
Yeah, I'm just gonna end off with, if you don't mind me just reading the dedication.
Oh, sure.
Of the book, I would love to read it. It says here, this book is dedicated to Black men. This book is dedicated to Black fathers. This book is for progress for us as Black people. This book is for those of us who went without the love, support, and nurturing of a father, even when they were alive and well. This is for those of us who never knew how to show that love, support, and nurturing as a father. This book is for every Black child who ever had to wait around for their father who never came. This book is for the Black fathers who have children waiting for them right now. Man, I tell you, man, like, people, this is what he wrote before the book started. Like we ain't even at the table of contents, and he's hitting you with that dedication. And again, I say to people all the time, there's a difference between writing a book from your head and writing a book from your heart, even though they're just inches apart from each other. And this book, I honestly say, was I felt like you put your heart on paper. And I hope people will get a chance to go ahead and see that, because the transformation, like you said, talking to 25, 30, 40 Black fathers, this type of stuff needs to be in front of 3,000, 30,000, 300,000. We talk about households where in the Black household, they typically say 75% of the households are missing fathers.
Yeah.
Man. This is good stuff, man. So tell them where you could get it again. Where can they get the book again? Just say it one more time.
drcarlstokesjr.com, or Amazon, right? But if you want that audio book, definitely go to drcarlstokesjr.com. You can get it right off the website. I recorded it myself. It's not one of those things where, somebody who don't know nothing about me read it for me. I went to the studio and I did it myself. So yeah, it'll be there.
Perfect, man. Thank you so much, guys. Listen, please, if you're looking to go and bring in someone to come and speak to Black fathers, Dr. Carl Stokes is definitely the guy you want. This is not, don't let he's well read, well researched, but is the most important part is he's relatable. And I think that's the key part, is that he resonates. And so the Black fathers that you have, that you may be serving, providing services for, that you have access to, please, please don't make the mistake of them not meeting this author and getting introduced to this book. This is absolutely some amazing, amazing stuff in there.
Appreciate it, man.